Jungle.
So here we have a rebellious 2009 Mitsubishi Galant with the 2.4 liter engine that has to pass emissions by next week. The only thing blocking success. The P0431 error code is most often the result of a faulty catalytic converter. And even though the vehicle has 3 catalytic converters, only 2 are monitored by the car's computer. And these 2 catalytic converters also serve as this vehicle's exhaust manifold. So they have to be purchased and replaced as one unit, which is what we're doing today. First step, disconnect that negative battery cable, then raise the front end and support it with jack stands. Then disconnect all 4 O2 sensor connectors by pushing in the tab and pulling outward. The bottom gray connector is for your upstream O2 sensor, and the black connector on top is for your downstream O2 sensor. The heat shield has to come off, so we're taking out both upstream O2 sensors with a 22mm O2 sensor socket and a 24-inch breaker bar. After removing both upstream O2 sensors, remove these 3 heat shield bolts with a 12mm socket. Then crawl under the front of the vehicle and located just above the downstream O2 sensor, you'll see 2 17mm nuts. But since I'm dealing with a lot of rust, I'm going to hammer a 16mm 12-point socket on both fasteners and zip them off with an impact wrench. Once you have both nuts on either side removed, you'll need to remove this bolt with a 13mm socket. With all 3 fasteners on the flange removed, you can push the pipe aside so you can reach this 13mm bracket bolt. Now that we have the bottom half completely disconnected, we can remove the nuts from the 6 manifold studs with a 14mm socket. But first you'll want to clean the exposed threads with a wire brush, then spray them down with your favorite rust penetrant to make the removal a little easier. As with everything, you want to check and make sure your parts are identical. The replacement part was ordered online for $255 shipped, and unlike the OEM converter, the aftermarket converter doesn't have metal tabs that you can mount the heat shield to, so we won't be reusing the heat shield at all. The reason I was getting the check engine light with the error code P0431 is pretty obvious. The ceramic honeycomb substrate is completely missing from the bank 2 side of the converter manifold. This happened because of an ongoing incorrect air-fuel mixture from a faulty O2 sensor that caused a too rich condition. A too rich condition can melt down the catalyst. This issue has been fixed, and the main catalytic converter that was clogged with the broken pieces of this one has been replaced. The new part didn't come with hardware, and when doing this kind of work, you run the risk of snapping fasteners or not being able to reuse them. So I keep a tackle box full of hardware when I travel, just in case that happens. The next step is to clean the mating surface. The part came with a new gasket that you need to use. After that, set the manifold converter in place. Installation is reverse of removal. Since the new manifold converter didn't come with a new flange gasket, we'll have to reuse the old one. I put a little anti-seize on the threads of the manifold studs, and remember, when torquing these down, you want to start from the middle and work your way outward. Reinstall your O2 sensor, and don't forget the upstream O2 sensor connector is gray. The downstream O2 sensor connector is black. Then reconnect your battery, start her up, and check for leaks.